What's up, guys? I'm Tommy Nichols, the blue collar voice of Santa Rosa County, and guys, we are back with another episode of our American BA The Facts. This one, not one individual. No. This one, 13. The Filthy 13. You've all heard about them. You've all seen the pictures. Now, let's learn a little bit about them. Come on, guys. Let's get into it. The Filthy 13. The Filthy 13 was the name given to the 1st Demolition Section of the Regimental Headquarters Company of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army, who fought in the European campaign in World War II. This unit was the inspiration for the book and the film, The Dirty Dozen. We've all seen it. The 1st Demolition Section was assigned and trained as demolition saboteurs to destroy enemy targets behind the lines. Inspired by Jake McNeese's leadership style, the unit had a tremendous mission focus, but their blatant disregard for those aspects of military discipline that did not contribute to the mission became the bane of their officers. The unit acquired the nickname the Filthy 13 while living in Nissen huts in England. A demolition section consisted of 13 enlisted men, and they would refuse to bathe during the week in order to use their water ration for cooking game, which they poached from the neighboring manor. Photos of the men wearing Native American-style mohawks and applying war paint to one another excited the public's interest in the unit. This inspiration for this came from McNeese, who was part Choctaw. During the Normandy invasion of Europe in June 1944, the group was airdropped with the 3rd Battalion, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment by aircraft of the 440th Troop Carrier Group of the U.S. Army Air Forces. They were ordered to secure or destroy the bridges of the Dove River. Half were either killed, wounded, or captured on the jump, but the rest, led by Jake McNeese, accomplished the mission. Most of the 3rd Battalion leadership had been killed on the initial jump, so without any contact with the 3rd Battalion, senior officers assumed the battalion had failed its mission and ordered the Air Force to bomb the bridges. The Filthy 13 also participated in the capture of Carentan. During Operation Market Garden, the demolition platoon was assigned to defend the 3 bridges over the Dommel River in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. German bombing of the city killed or wounded half the demolitions men in the platoon, and McNeese was promoted to platoon sergeant of what was left. Jack Woolmer took his place as section sergeant. For the rest of the campaign, the demolitions men secured the regimental command post or protected wire-laying details. On one occasion, survivors of the demolition platoon were assigned as a rifle squad to the understrength company. After coming back AWOL from Paris after Market Garden, McNeese volunteered for the Pathfinders, thinking he would never make another combat jump. These were paratroopers sent in ahead of the main force to guide them in or guide in resupply drops. Half the surviving members of the original Filthy 13 followed him into the Pathfinders, thinking they would sit out the rest of war training in England. To their surprise, they parachuted into the encircled town of Bastogne at the height of the Battle of the Bulge. Anticipating casualties as high as 80 to 90%, the 20 Pathfinders lost only 1 man. Their CRN-4 beacon enabled them to guide us in subsequent airdrops of supplies, crucial to the continued resistance of the trapped 101st Airborne Division. So, because of these guys, they were able to keep them alive and keep them in the fight. McNeese considered that any activities not directly concerned with his mission were irrelevant, an attitude that got him in constant trouble with the military authorities. Nevertheless, McNeese finished the war as an acting first sergeant and with 4 combat jumps, a very rare feat for an American paratrooper. His combat jumps included Normandy, the Netherlands as part of Operation Market Garden, the Pathfinder jump into Bastogne, Belgium during the Battle of the Bulge, and as an observer with the 17th Airborne Division during Operation Varsity. Of the activities of the Filthy 13, Jack Agnew once said, "We were not murderers or anything. We just didn't do everything we were supposed to do in some ways and did a whole lot more than they wanted us to do in others." We were always in trouble. I would say so. But they got the job done. Members: Jack Agnew, WIA, wounded in action, Normandy. George Baran, WIA, Normandy. Roland Frenchy R. Barbarou, KIA, killed in action, Normandy. Robert S. Ragsman Cohn, POW Normandy, prisoner of war. Charles Maul Darnell, POW Normandy. John Dewey, Bastogne Pathfinder. Charles Trigger Gann, POW Bastogne. James F. Piccadilly Willie Green, POW Normandy. John Peepnuts Hill, KIA Normandy. James E. Lala Leach, POW Normandy. Louis Lulip Lip, WIA, Wounded in Action, Normandy. Thomas Oldman Longeren. Max Majewski, Bastogne Pathfinder. Miguel Mike Marquez. Lieutenant Charles Mellon, KIA, Normandy. Jack McNeese, Bastogne Pathfinder. Frank Shorty Milan, transferred to HQ. John H. Denty Moore. Joseph Joe Olskowitz, KIA, Holland. Frank Pallies. Irby Pierce. Charles Chuck Plota. George Goo Goo Radka. I love that nickname, Goo Goo. Andrew Andy Rasmussen, WIA, Normandy. Brinsley Strope, injured in a practice jump pre-invasion. Clarence Ware, WIA, Normandy. Jack Hawkeye Womer, and Tom Young. The list includes original members from 1943 and the newer members during Operation Overlord and Operation Market Garden. An interview with Jake McNeese and Jack Agnew can be found on the 2-disc version of the Dirty Dozen DVD. Jack Agnew died at 88 on April 8, 2010. Jake McNeese died at age 93 on January 21, 2013. And Jack Warmer died at age 96 on December 28th in 2013. The 101st Airborne Division issued a press release to the unit, but war correspondents embellished the story. War correspondent Tom Hodge started the ball rolling when he wrote the first article about these paratroopers and coined the name the Filthy 13 in an article for the Stars and Stripes. June 9, 1944, Filthy 13 squad rivaled by none in leaping party. Arch Whitehouse wrote an article for True Magazine that had some of the myths that would eventually find their way into E.M. Nathanson's book, The Dirty Dozen, which was the basis of the 1967 film of the same name. Whitehouse wrote, they called themselves the Dirty Dozen and took pride in the reputation they had of being the honoriest, meanest group of paratroopers who ever hit this base. Whitehouse also claimed the original 12 members were full-blood Indians who had sworn not to bathe until they had jumped into combat, and it required their new lieutenant to beat each one of them in a fight in order to win their respect. This edition of this new member changed the name from the Dirty Dozen to the Filthy 13. E.M. Nathanson was informed by a friend, Russ Meyer, who worked on documentaries for the war about a unit of condemned prisoners who were sent on a suicide mission, more likely one of the Filthy 13 myths. Searching the archives of condemned prisoners, Nathanson found no evidence of such a unit, but used the information gathered for his novel published in 1965, which was later turned into a blockbuster movie in 1967. Barbara Maloney, the daughter of John Agnew, told the American Valor Quarterly that her father felt 30% of the movie's content was historically correct, including a scene where officers are captured. Unlike the Dirty Dozen, the Filthy 13 were not convicts. However, they were men prone to drinking and fighting and often spent time in the stockade. They were a raw group. They were headstrong and they weren't afraid of a fight, that's for certain. But hey, you gotta have those type of folks when you're fighting a war. Richard E. Kilblane wrote Jack McNeese's version of the unit in the Filthy 13 in 2003, and Stephen DeVito wrote Jack Warmer's version in Fighting with the Filthy 13, the World War II story of Jack Warmer, Ranger and Paratrooper, 2012. Kilblane followed up both books with a more accurate history of the unit that included nearly all surviving members' accounts in War Paint, the Filthy 13 Jump into Normandy, 2013. Jerome Preisler wrote an excellent account of the Bastogne Jump in his history of the World War II Pathfinders, First to Jump, how the Band of Brothers was aided by the brave paratroopers of the Pathfinder Company in 2014. The Filthy 13 has been translated into French, Swedish, and Spanish. Maureen Picard included a chapter about Jake McNeese and the Filthy 13 in his book, Des Ordinaires, Second Degree Mondale, The Ordinary Heroes of the Second World War, which was published in 2016. The cover of War Paint, the Filthy 13 Jump into Normandy, shows a copy of a commissioned painting by Joel Iskowitz depicting the Filthy 13 getting ready for their jump into Normandy. The Stevens County Curry Military Museum in Toka, Georgia, commissioned a bronze bust of Jake McNeese. Rio des Marats commissioned a memorial to the 3rd Battalion, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, and the Filthy 13 in Brevins, France, their D-Day mission. It includes a bronze statue of a kneeling member of the Filthy 13. Andrew Jones would write and direct a low-budget film about the unit titled D-Day Assassins, which would be released in 2019. Guys, like I said, we have all seen the pictures. We've all heard the stories. We've all seen the movie. And it paints one heck of a picture. These guys were true American badasses. So there you go, guys. I'm Tommy Nichols, the Blue Collar Boys of Santa Rosa County. Hope you enjoyed the Filthy 13. Toodles.